Welcome back into the Enrichment Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine. And trust me, they have the best selection of boats in all of East Tennessee. Polar Craft aluminum boats, Skeeter bass boats, Hurricane deck boats, Suncatcher pontoons, whatever kind of boat, whether you're a fisherman, whether you're just out on the lake with your friends, the place to go and find the right boat for you is Madisonville Marine. And that's one of the things they pride themselves on. If you go in there and say, well, I've got a family and they'd like to do this and I'd like to do that, they're going to work with you to figure out, okay, which type of boat, not brand, not model, which type of boat is better for you, because their goal is to make you happy, to get you the right boat and have you come back. Madisonville Marine. All right, I want to welcome in the cast, the next wave. We have over here our former Vol quarterbacks. We got Sterling Hinton, we got Bobby Scott, thanks to these guys. We got Vince Ferrara, who's wearing the logo, WNML 990. We got Chuck Cavaleris, just media mogul. Too many logos for you to be like a NASCAR driver. All right, I want to start by looking at some things Team 117 managed to do. We have some graphics here. All right. Say goodbye to Team 117. They ended Tennessee's 12-game road losing streak against Kentucky last night. 12-game road losing streak, and it dated back to 2010. This next one's unbelievably sad. They're the first 2-win team in SEC play for Tennessee since 2010.
Wow.
The last 2 years, Tennessee had gone 1-7. So celebrate the fact they actually doubled the win total in the SEC. That's unbelievable. This team also earlier in the year snapped Tennessee's 19-game losing streak against ranked teams by upsetting South Carolina. And Bobby will enjoy this. That's the biggest upset in the SEC this year, because here's the deal, Bobby. If Michael Pilardi doesn't hit that field goal and South Carolina wins, South Carolina's in Atlanta playing for the SEC championship, and they're probably in the top 3 or 4 in the country getting ready for a BCS possible championship.
I think I might have been the first one to say that Pilardi was the MVP.
No, I think I was.
I think Butch Jones was, and you guys are just taking credit. All right. I do think, though, that if there's anybody that would enjoy Tennessee. I was expecting you to talk about Spurrier.
Hey,
there you go. Right.
You know what I think about him.
Yeah,
I think most other people out there watching probably have heard me.
Yeah, let's okay. Very good, very good. At 5-7, this team, was it better, worse, or about what you expected? Very quickly.
It's exactly what I expected. The only flip flop was I thought they would lose to South Carolina, and I thought they'd beat Vanderbilt. So you flop those, you switch those. Yeah. I thought they would lose more convincingly in a lot of games than last year when they only had 2 blowouts. So 5-7 is what I had them. This was not a surprising season for me.
I had them 5-7. I'm not shocked by it either.
I thought just slightly below what I thought they could do, and I think the Vanderbilt games. I had seven wins, including a bowl win.
Just messing.
Yeah, 7 wins, including a bowl win, is what I predict. But I think that Vanderbilt game really changed everything. And who knew Auburn and Missouri were going to only lose a total of 2 games?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. You and I were in on this group. I want to start with you guys. Back in May 5th, we did a show where we asked, what reasons will Tennessee make a bowl? What reasons will they not? Or what reasons will they not? Yeah. Here's what we said in terms of why they would reach a bowl game. Well, there's nothing to look at. Okay. Let's look at me. Love you, Austin Peay, Western Kentucky, South Alabama, Vandy, Kentucky, Missouri, and Auburn should all be competitive. Obviously, that one was a flaw because Auburn and Missouri was much better than we thought. Dobbs or Ferguson might surprise. We threw that out as a possibility. Your thoughts on, you never saw Ferguson, your thoughts on Dobbs. I thought he showed more promise earlier in his stint than he did late. He played okay last night, but I thought he started out better against Alabama and Missouri, where he had a couple of passes dropped, than he did the last couple of weeks.
I think against Vanderbilt he got, kind of got a raw deal. I think, again, I've said I thought the coaches pulled their horns in. They didn't give him an opportunity after he threw the interceptions. They didn't give him an opportunity to place the ball down the field. And, I thought yesterday he threw the ball well. He did have the one that got batted up, ended up being a touchdown. If it had been intercepted, they'd have called it an interception. So, by golly, it's a touchdown.
Auburn didn't give him theirs back like
right.
that to Georgia.
I know that's right.
Your thoughts on Josh Dobbs? He had a rushing touchdown call back that probably would have won that Vanderbilt game. We said Tennessee would need for one of those guys to surprise. Obviously, I don't think Dobbs surprised, but Your thoughts on his play so far?
I thought his play was promising, John. I mean, the guy's a true freshman. Now, getting back there behind that center, this game is a lot faster than high school. And it's the SEC, and he got in against one of the perennial SEC teams, which is one of the perennial teams in the nation, Alabama. So, I'm just happy he kept his confidence, happy the coaches stayed with him, and I'm happy he had a chance to get somewhere he can grow to next year.
I don't think there's any reason to throw him out just yet, and you got some folks that are ready to do that. I don't think that's fair. But at the same time, the idea was you needed somebody to surprise, and they didn't get that. Another thing that was thrown out, UT was due for some good luck. I don't know if they ever got the good luck. And an upset. I don't think they got lucky in that upset of South Carolina. I think they pulled that one off. Thoughts on the South Carolina win?
I think South Carolina helped a little bit. I don't think they were very motivated, and that helped Tennessee. But the fact that they were even in that position, to me, was a great step. And they finished it off and got that signature win that Butch Jones needed. I thought that was very promising. As far as Dobbs, I think that throw out of the end zone to Devin Young tells you that kid has arm talent.
Okay. I'll tell you what, Chuck, I'm going to start with you. These are the reasons they will not go bowling. Here's what we had to say. No depth. Correct?
Wrong.
You just give me correct or incorrect.
Correct.
No proven playmakers at the skill positions.
Correct.
Said that in May. The SEC is loaded.
Correct.
Thank you. Oregon, Florida, Georgia, Carolina, and Alabama would be built-in losses. Incorrect on that one, obviously, with the South Carolina win. And then last one, the O-line wasn't proven as power run blockers. And I think that one showed up.
And that did show up. And I think that's one of the things that really came back to hurt this team, because you coming in with all of the hype that you thought that was what you could really depend on, and you weren't able to.
Your thoughts on those lists that we came up with, why they will, why they won't? It's not like we were way off on many of those. It seems like if you had the biggest takeaway, they did get the upset against South Carolina, but Auburn and Missouri were tougher than anybody expected. I mean, would that be your twist? If you flip Auburn and Missouri and give Tennessee, a couple, instead of Auburn, say you get Arkansas, Mississippi State, I think you're going bowling.
Well, speaking of flipping, man, why you asking all the questions to the brown side of the table? Come to the blue
Well,
side,
starting
baby.
with the blue side.
It's all about
If
the
I
brown
could get any of you guys to talk, I'd love to talk. I'm sitting here struggling.
Correct.
David Cutcliffe. got
Okay,
Duke
let's talk
right
about
here.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sterling, say it.
Talk about Tennessee. This is what I think. Everybody went in with such a negative attitude this year. And now we've got to find a way to get that energy back into our players, into our atmosphere. This atmosphere has got to change around here. And I think this senior class are examples of that, especially Mr. Marlon Walls. You got a guy that's recruited by Coach Fulmer, had to end up being coached by Coach Kiffin, played with Dooley, and then Coach Jones comes in. This guy here is an example of what VFL is all about. And that's what this Orange Nation has to get back to have positive energy around here. Hey, Auburn did it. And so let's let that be us next year.
Yeah, and also you got to
Okay.
realize, too, the most glaring thing, and you've talked about it, was the lack of team speed. And then you looked at this season going in, you had almost guaranteed or probable losses, and then you had some 50-50 games. And it turned out there weren't nearly as many 50-50 games on that schedule as we thought.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. Thank you. Hey, guys, talk. I'm begging you, so please. Auburn, I don't think is a fair comparison. People are comparing Tennessee to Auburn. Auburn had a coach who was stupid last year. You had a team of top 10 recruiting classes built for one offense. That coordinator leaves. Gene Chizik puts his head back in his rear and goes away from that offense. You bring Gus Malzahn back, he picks up where he left off. That does not compare to Tennessee in the least, in my view. You want to compare Tennessee rebuilding? Look at Arkansas, look at Kentucky. Those are actual rebuilds, and Butch Jones is ahead of those teams.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll take that, but you
Yeah,
can
but
still
the Auburn
aspire.
thing is just not a
All
fair
I'm saying,
comparison.
you can expire.
Oh,
Auburn's
you can
it's
aspire
not
to do it.
impossible. It's not impossible.
Okay.
One of the main
If you have a
things-
bunch of top 10 recruiting classes, it's not. Go ahead, Bobby.
I was just going to say one of the main things that I wanted to see out of this team was that they played hard and they didn't quit, and I think those two things happened for the most part
Yep.
during the whole year.
I agree. I think the only time that team quit, and that's using the term very, very loosely, was the second half against Auburn when they got clobbered by Alabama, clobbered by Missouri. I think that's the only time they wavered. I thought they played hard against Vanderbilt. They just didn't play that particularly well. All right, when we come back, we'll take a look. Last scorecard of the season. Where does this win rank? What was the best performance of the year? What was the worst performance of the year? Come on back on the Richmond Sports Source.